Hello and welcome to the fourth day of racing in the digital Swiss 5 as 19 of the very best teams in world cycling get set for another bout of virtual combat on the roads of Switzerland. Nicholas Roach of Team Sunweb scored a superb victory yesterday, the Irish star taking the lead early on and going on to win the 33-kilometre mountain epic by 1 minute and 11 seconds from Team CCC's Ilnur Zakarin with Larry Warbass of AG Tour La Mondiale in third place. It's less hilly for the riders today, a flat finish in Langnau after 37 kilometres, which starts at Oberlangenegg in the canton of Bern, Switzerland, on roads made famous by the Tour de Suisse. The first 5 kilometres are flat before the gradient grips, and the riders virtually ascend the first of 2 climbs before the final 20-kilometre long descent to the finish line in Langnau. It's one for the classics riders who can power up the shorter climbs and deliver at the finish line. Don't forget you can accompany us during the live action on the ROWE AOR app. Here's how it works. To get the best experience out of watching a race on the ROWE platform, download the ROWE AOR application to a laptop or smart device and choose the Race tab to find the next digital Swiss 5 race. It's free to download, free to watch each race. Pick the best video resolution, then select the start list for the event. Scroll through the list to see who's riding and their data, choose your favourite rider or opt to follow the leader as the race unfolds. The menu offers the order of the riders through the various split points in the race. Select the riders while the race is underway and the key data will help give you the best possible understanding in the world's most exciting online bike racing. 19 teams are in action, of which 15 are World Tour squads, including the AG Tour team of Oliver Nassen and CCC featuring Olympic champion Greg van Avermaet, who's looking forward to this new challenge.
I think it's just good to see the guys a bit back because we are always on the road whole year long, and now we don't see them anymore. We're all in our own houses, and it's nice to organize some group rides together, also with the fans, because we're all kind of in the same situation. And the nicest thing with also this platform is that you can ride with amateur riders who just can join us and just ride on the same tempo.
Czech Classic star Zdeněk Stybar steps up for De Koning Quickstep today, where he'll face, among others, Denmark's Magnus Kort of EF Pro Cycling. Germany's Andre Greipel debuts for Israel Startup Nation, while the Tour de Suisse stage winner Chris Juul Jensen joins a powerful Mitchelton Scott lineup. Portugal's Nelson Oliveira starts for Movistar, and all eyes will be on another time trial star, Belgium's world hour record holder Victor Campenaerts of NTT Pro Cycling. Britain's Ben Swift races for Team Ineos, while Sunweb's Michael Matthews was third on day 2. His sports director Luke Roberts is optimising team selection to suit the course.
We have obviously several riders there, some sprinters, some hill climbers, so we spread out our selection over the 5 days with the selection of climbers for races 1, 3 and 5, and some good time trialists or flat riders, sprinters ready for day 2 and day 4.
Tom Squinch is an attacking rider for Trek Segafredo, while Canada's Matteo DAL-CIN of Rally Cycling was a fine 5th on day 2. Finally, the Swiss national squad has selected day 2 winner Stefan Kung of Groupama FDJ for this 4th day of racing in the digital Swiss 5. Just under a minute now to the start of this 4th day of racing. It's the penultimate day of racing in the digital Swiss 5. Oberlangenegg to Langnau today. It's a delicious prospect. One for the classics men. Will it be one for the time trialists? Maybe one of the climbers can jump in here. And I'm delighted to say that we've been joined once more by former world hour record holder and Giro d'Italia stage winner Alex Dowsett. Alex, it is an interesting prospect, this one. It's an absolutely fascinating course. That long descent to the finish is really going to inform the tactics, but in what way, in what manner?
It's I think it's the most open of the 5 stages. You know, with the flat day on day 2, we knew it was going to come down to the big powerful guys, and the 2 other, the first and third stage was certainly climbers races, whereas this is a real mix, so this is going to be super interesting.
We're on board with 16 riders through the day, and 57 riders representing 19 teams are underway in the 4th day of racing in the digital Swiss 5. One of the riders struggling to get away a little bit. I think it might have been Tourgy, but looks like we're all up and running in studio. with our Swiss colleagues at the moment is the Swiss superstar, Stefan Küng, the winner on day 2. Can he lift that extremely powerful frame up the first of these 2 climbs, which is going to be the more challenging of the 2? The fearsome Schallenberg mountain awaits, and it comes relatively early in the fray. It's a great start by Michael Matthews. Look at this, over 8 watts per kilo in the early stages. He's gone out like a scalded cat, really, as he feels that this is the way to play this one. Michael Matthews came up with a pretty good result, actually, the last time the Tour de Suisse raced into Langnau, which is the destination town. He finished in 3rd position. In 2019, 2018, he was in 4th position. So Michael Matthews knows how to play this. He knows how to play the game. Fantastic head-to-head scrap with Greg Van Avermaet on day 2. Ultimately went the way of Matthews, and he finished in 3rd place behind Stefan Küng. Küng this time round has decided to stay thereabouts, close to the head of affair, inside the top 10. But Küng at the moment just on the tail of his teammate Claudio Imhoff, the Swiss track specialist. Imhoff featuring towards the front in the early stages, as he did on day 1. But it's Michael Matthews out front, 20-metre advantage over Martin Lass. Sylvain Dillier, Swiss riders, another man buoyed and perhaps his performance lifted by racing on virtual home roads. Andre Greipel, we welcome him to Digital Swiss 5 Racing. The 37-year-old veteran of the Israel Startup Nation squad is putting out some decent power. Will he be able to drag that frame up and over the early climb? As we pick up the images of Michael Matthews, has he gone out a bit too aggressively, Alex? He's certainly up for the fight today.
Well, I mean, both Michael, Stefan and Greg all have the advantage of experience. You know, this is certainly this first section of the race will be familiar territory for them. So Stefan, being a time trialist, he knows how to pace an effort. I'd imagine he'd be looking at Matthews thinking, there's a good chance I'm going to see you later. Michael, you could see, has moved his trainer outdoors, so there might have been some overheating issues in that first stage 2 that he did before. Heat, being able to dissipate heat is really important in these races, because you don't have the advantage of the airflow. So having a strong fan there and being outside just to help keep that body temperature down is crucial.
Variety of setups, including Michael Albasini, the 39-year-old veteran, heading towards retirement via the virtual experience of Digital Swiss 5 Racing. And to Michael Albasini, he's on the 2nd row there. You can see he's outdoors. One or 2 issues. Looks like Luke Rowe actually might have hit a little bit of a snag there to step off the bike, so he'll slip back down the order. The Team Ineos man from Wales, as Oliver Nassen's camera has locked. I sincerely hope that he's still got the internet to keep those cranks flying around. Oliver Nassen, the specialist classics man, currently sitting in 27th position, but more problems for Luke Rowe and all sorts of dropout issues. Team Ineos rider, well, could be game over actually for Luke Rowe. A disappointing debut at Digital Swiss 5 Racing for the man from Wales. Left at the start line, he's tried all sorts of things, so fundamentally I think that's it for him. So disappointment for Team Ineos in that respect, and we hope that their remaining 2 riders, Ben Swift and Ethan Hayter, the young British rider who's involved in this, can get up and into the fight. It's Matthews that has the early advantage, a narrowing margin over Andre Greipel. Perhaps not surprisingly, Greipel feels like powering along on the flat roads. He's really gone out and seen an opportunity. Worth reminding, I think, viewers, if you're watching this for the first time, there's no draft effect here, so the usual rules do not apply. This is more of an athletic pursuit, and indeed more like a time trial effort, albeit everybody is saying to us over the last few days it's not exactly like a time trial, it is different.
Yeah, I think, you know, there's even less to think about here than there is a time trial. But this is certainly a solo effort. This is a mental battle. You can see Greipel there just pulling the bike to pieces. He's really committed, and that's wise, because this early downhill section really favours Andre, and unlike real racing, he can get an advantage. He has a huge amount of power at his disposal. You know, he's a big guy, so he carries like the weight as well, but he can, on the downhill, that's only going to help him. So him and Michael here are both pulling out a big advantage here, and you're seeing some very, very high numbers. But looking at Andre's face, I've got a feeling he might pay for this later, but he's my teammate, so I dearly hope he doesn't.
Yeah, we haven't seen thighs like that on a bike, pulling the bike in all directions since a top row forward went into the sin bin at the Six Nations many moons ago. It's remarkable stuff, but it's effective stuff from the former German national champion. Andre Greipel, 31 metres behind Michael Matthews in the early stages. We start to see a bit of movement. Nathan van Hooydonk of the CCC squad, 26-year-old Belgian rider, has moved up the order and up into 8th position. It's Matthews and Greipel, Van Avermaet, Jonas Rutsch from EF Pro Cycling. Well, they've really been hooked up well this week, haven't they? They've gotten the hang of it and they've enjoyed it. Jimmy Whelan has shown well. He's shown for the EF Pro Cycling squad. And his teammate, young German teammate, Jonas Rutsch, sitting in 4th place. Tobias Ludvigsson of Groupama FDJ, Swedish rider, is in 5th place as things currently stand. Nathan van Hooydonk, as I've mentioned, is well up the order for CCC. Will Clark, Stefan Kung, as you might expect, is riding well on the flat roads. 8th position at the moment. Matteo DAL-CIN, 5th already in this series of races. He'll replicate that. He's just ahead of Kung in 7th position at the moment. Will Clark slips back to 9th. Sylvain Dillier at the outside of the top 10. That's your top 10 in the early standings. That's set to change radically, significantly, as the gradient starts to grip. And this climb is a bit of a beast, actually. It's certainly going to test the riders. It's quite a demanding. You can see the switchbacks that await the riders, and Michael Matthews, he does get over the climbs perhaps slightly better than most roadman sprinters. He's far from just a sprinter, isn't he? He's a real classics man and has a pretty wide repertoire.
Michael, you know, you'd even throw him in the mix. You wouldn't discount him in any time trial either, especially shorter ones. He's won some huge time trials, and I know, you know, whenever I see his name on the list, he's one that's marked out by all the time trialists as a possible threat. Yeah, I mean, he could be, when Michael is on top form, he's a threat in almost every race. You can't discount him in anything. And apparently it goes the same for online racing. It's quite fun to see that Greg Van Avermaet's on the hunt already. Michael will be looking at that gap, and I wonder, even if they get passed by anyone else, they'll still have that same battle that we enjoyed on stage 2 for the final place on the podium, the virtual podium.
I think that pair would scrap the final place in the race if it came down to it. It certainly doesn't look as if that's what they'll be contending for today, because Greg Van Avermaet has moved up onto the tail, well, not quite onto the tail, but into 2nd place, just ahead of his teammate Nathan van Hooydonk. Michael Matthews, you mentioned his time trial pedigree. 2nd, of course, to Rowan Dennis in a Tour de Suisse time trial. Just last year, a short effort, the stage 1 time trial. Not quite a prologue, but around about 10k long, so it's those short, sharp, vicious efforts certainly playing into the particular talents of Michael Matthews. Static shot for Luke Rowe. He's out of contention, unfortunately, the man from Team Ineos. But we have got images once more from Oliver Nassen, who's out there, the former Belgian road race champion, making his debut in the Digital Swiss 5 Racing. The Belgian rider with the AG Tour Le Mondial squad, sitting 14th, so he's moving up the order. Lucas Posselberger, former Giro stage winner, Austrian rider with the Bora Hansgrohe squad, noping in the air. It's fairly impassive expression, and he's got a nice little rhythm going, has Lucas Posselberger. He's got some experience, of course, of this competition from day 1. Greg Van Avermaet too, bested by Matthews for that final podium position on day 2. And Van Avermaet, who's in Belgium, he's been training outside for the most part. He's taken to the home trainer to join his colleagues in a bid for a first victory for the CCC squad. But we saw a great 2nd place finish from Milnor's Zakarin yesterday. There was nothing that anyone could do about Team Sunweb's Nicholas Roche, and Roche, his teammate Michael Matthews, wants to replicate that. Magnus Kort has got all the fans he needs. The big Danish rider. Really looks like an altogether lower cadence from Andre Greipel. He's not afraid of a big old cog on the bike or at the front and a small one at the back.
Andre's now that they're on the climb, the resistance on all the riders' turbo trainers will really increase to simulate that climb, and then when they pass over the top onto the downhill, that resistance will ease off, just to give that realistic feel. So, and when there is a higher resistance, when there is more torque, you find that you're a little bit more inclined to sort of churn over a bigger gear, whereas when the resistance is low, it feels a lot nicer to be in a high gear and spinning away. So I think on these climbs we will see a slightly lower cadence from most of the riders, and Andre especially. It's worth noting that he's still on the road to recovery from a broken shoulder that he sustained in training, and just looking at it, it doesn't look like he's quite gripping the bars as he would do normally. There's a little bit more weight on one side than the other, so I think he's definitely still in recovery there.
Yeah, and even in home trainer racing, you really do need to have a firm grip, don't you, so you can focus everything into the legs. And here's another man who knows how to get it out, Victor Campenaerts, as we switch across to Anthony Turgi. He's put the helmet on his fan just behind him. Turgi, the Frenchman. And the impassive expression from the 25-year-old. Stepping on the stage of Paris-Nice earlier this year. He's in pretty good form. Malcolm Albasini, not the sort of cruise tourist retirement that he would have hoped for. The Michelin Scott rider riding with the Swiss national squad today, planning a sort of a celebratory tour all the way to the Tour de Suisse in June, but unfortunately that race has been cancelled. I'm not sure what Michael Albasini is planning in terms of retirement, but this is an opportunity to showcase his abilities one final time to the Swiss public. We pick up Victor Campenaerts sitting in 11th position at the moment. He's handily placed thereabouts, and he's timing this one nicely, and he is, as a former world hour record holder yourself, Alex, you'll know better than most just the extent of this man's ability on a flat road, but he's also pretty useful on a climb too, as time trialists go.
Yes, I mean, the main thing Victor has in his armory is, well, one of them, I mean, he's one of the most dedicated athletes I've ever seen, but what makes him very good, and the same goes for Remco Evenepoel, is actually their size. Victor on the TT bike can get himself tucked up so small that his aerodynamics are unparalleled in the time trial world at the moment, and that's but coupled with that, he doesn't weigh much and he churns out quite a lot of power. But I wonder if on the downhills, the two significant downhill sections we've got coming up, if that's going to work against Victor in this case, because aerodynamics does not feature on this platform. It's quite amusing that he's got a time trial skin suit on, but that will purely be for comfort. It might just be his preferred item of clothing. It might be the only thing that's not in the washing machine at the moment. But that won't help him in the second half of this race.
Right. That skin suit's optimised for moving through the air, and he's stood still at the moment. Not stood still in virtual terms, though, because he's moved up and ahead of Matteo DAL-CIN, the man from Rally Cycling. He finished 5th on day 2, and DAL-CIN slips back the order. Michael Matthews, though, continues to churn out the watts. He's seen what Nicholas Roach can do. He's hanging on to an advantage, which is extended now up to 158, 159 metres over Ethan Hayter. What an exceptional performance from this 21-year-old neo-pro with Team Ineos. Just over 200 metres, but he got the likes of Dillier, Gogol, Kuhn, Van Avermaet, Campenaerts, Van Hooydonk and the rest, and it's an exceptional job being done by Ethan Hayter. He wants to showcase his abilities. He's a young man in a hurry, young man going places. He's already come up with some exceptional results, including a stage win at the Tour de l'Avenir in 2019, and Ethan Hayter is an emerging talent for Britain.
I don't know if it's worth talking about them, but the maximum speed on this platform is 72 kilometers an hour. So it's, yeah, I mean, it could be a nice opportunity actually for the riders to have a rest now, knowing that they're not going to, by gain any more any more power, any more speed by sort of touching the pedals at all right now.
Yes, we spoke to Matt White of the Mitchell & Scott squad before today's race. You'll hear some comments from him at the top of tomorrow's show. Watch out for that. But Matt White was saying that they're all now aware of the fact that now there's an opportunity to measure your effort, assuming that you can get up to 72 kilometers an hour relatively easily, and given that the gradient is more than what 7-9% on the rest, as they career down this the other side of this first hill of the day, that it is an opportunity to get the drink in, maybe take a gel as early as this. It's still a good opportunity. A lot of sugar being burned out there, so riders, there's a certain stasis here, isn't there? They sort of hold what they have. Stefan Kung steps off the bike momentarily. I think that can only mean that he's just having intermittent Wi-Fi dropout issues. Hasn't impeded his progress too much. And Stefan Kung sitting in a handy 5th position at the moment for the Swiss national team, 577 meters behind Michael Matthews, who in turn is holding what he has, and what he's opened up is a 320 meters advantage over Ethan Hayter of Team Ineos. Michael Gogol of NTT Pro Cycling sitting in 3rd place at the moment, ahead of Sylvain Dillier of the AG Tour Le Mondial. His fellow countryman Stefan Kung of the Swiss national team in 5th. Greg van Avermaet, Victor Kampenaerts, Nathan van Hooydonk, Matteo DAL-CIN, Tobias Ludvigsen. That's your top 10. And just outside the top 10, a little bit further down the order, but still very much in contention. Inside a kilometre from the race lead at the moment is Oliver Nassen of AG Tour Le Mondial. Scrolling down the order, the likes of Posselberg was well up early on. Well, he's back in 21st now. Greipel, I can tell you, and as you might have expected on a tough hill like that, the big man with an almost unparalleled palmares in terms of sprint success over the years. 3 stage wins for Tour de France, 11 and a bunch of others. I'm just trying to pick up he's got way more than that indeed, isn't he? 11 Tour de France stage wins, 7 Giro d'Italia victories, 4 in the Vuelta, and plenty of other races besides for Andre Greipel. Slip back a little bit, as you might expect. Edvald Boasson-Hagen back in 27th position. Ben Swift is still in there for Team Ineos. Luke Rowe, of course, is out of contention. Kasper Asgreen, about whom we might have expected a little bit. He's an exceptional talent, and a rider who's already enjoyed success this year with his victory in the Kuurne, Brussels Kuurne, before lockdown began, is back in 32nd position. Zdenek Stibar, his Classics specialist teammate from De Koning Quick Step, back in 34th. And scrolling further back, well, down to the very back at the moment, Julian Simon is the last rider still in the bike race. 54 riders still involved. Still a long way to go, though. Less than 20 minutes of racing have been completed.
You can see on the screen, Stefan is close to that 70. He's really maximising the speed here, because he's only 4 kilometres an hour off that 72 mark. So he's just sitting on an enormous wattage to try and get up to that, which is, you know, super smart under the circumstance, under the sort of adapting to this platform. And it's worth noting that this is not, you know, this isn't a race like we'd see on the road. We're going to see a different set of riders being in the top 10 here, because it is, you know, this isn't like racing. There's no drafting. The tactics are different, and it just suits some riders more than it suits others. Some riders are pure racers and thrive off of the strategy, the cornering, positioning, and then some riders are pure powerhouses. And so we're seeing, and it's not to discredit anyone that does well in either this racing or racing out on the road.
Probably worth reminding ourselves that the riders are spread across as many as 22 countries all over the world. The races are being shown live on television in more than 30 countries right now. We're streaming live into many more countries. And we know that hundreds of thousands of you, of course, are logged in to watch the action on social media channels throughout the day. We've picked up some great images and great social content out there. With Patrick Gamper, extraordinary. Well, you're not going to be able to maintain that today. Nico Roach was in fine form yesterday.
Very difficult and intense. It was on from the beginning. I just had to pace myself because I still had KATO, ASGREEN and Wallbass just behind me, and I could just see I wasn't capable of gaining much space. But I was kind of steady, so I was kind of basing my effort on them behind.
Roach looking pretty tired after that effort. 16 riders. Oncoming traffic is exercising the interest of many people. Ilnur Zakarin regretting what he did. He was a great second place yesterday in the pain cave afterwards. And Michał Kwiatkowski gaining a little bit of inspiration from Snoop Dogg. Take it wherever you can get it. All worked perfectly for Nico Roach yesterday. Great to have so many of you along with us this afternoon, indeed through the week. And into, I hope, the conclusion of the Digital Swiss 5, which comes tomorrow, the 5th race tomorrow, 36 kilometers in total, Camperio to Decentis Sedrun, 15 kilometers uphill, up over the Luc Manier Pass, and we'll be down the other side, but we've got to save a little bit of energy. There's a little bit of a kicker at the back end of the final 6 kilometers of tomorrow's fight. Could be one for the mountain climbers. Today, it's one for the all-rounders, and Michael Matthews is one of the very best in the world. The man they call Bling, or they did once upon a time, they still call him that. He's based in Monaco these days. Michael Matthews is pumping out almost 7 watts per kilo, over 20 kilometers an hour now, as it grips again. He's on the second climb of the day. This one's a little bit shorter. It's still an intense effort, but he's not going to be on the climb for as long. And will he be able to hang on to this lead? Can't emphasize enough what a great effort this is from Ethan Hayter. He and his brother, part of the British cycling setup, part of the track setup, of course, at Team GB, emphasized so much. And Hayter is hanging on to that 40-meter advantage or so that he has over Stefan Kung. Kung moving up nicely through the order at the moment, and they're keeping Matthews honest.
Ethan, a funny story about Ethan. He was responsible for me setting a new max heart rate 1 October a couple of years ago. I'd do the track league in London, and Ethan was a junior. Was lighting it up back then, and I'd have a real tough time trying to stay with him. And he was clearly a talent and one of the absolute mainstays in the current Team GB Team Pursuit team.
The impudent young upstart has been called up to the big show. Part of the track squad, of course, but he's also now with Team Ineos in the World Tour, and he's within 170 meters of the lead of this penultimate race in the Digital Swiss 5. But Michael Matthews, as has been the theme really over the first couple of races, get an early advantage and somehow maintain this effort. At the moment, it's looking reasonably good for him, but Hayter starts to drag a few meters back. It's coming down. It's going in the right direction at the moment for Ethan Hayter. Interestingly enough, Michael Gugel of NTT Pro Cycling has just moved ahead of Stefan Kung. They're shoulder to shoulder in a virtual sense, and this is a nice little move here from Gugel to try and step up and put it up to one of the best time trialists in the world, the winner on day 2, 26-year-old Austrian. 8th in the Amstel Gold back in 2017 is one of the standout World Tour results from Michael Gugel, but he's clearly taken to virtual racing like a duck to water. He's ahead of 2 Swiss riders at the moment, Koen Dillier. Greg van Avermaet heads a quartet of Belgian riders in 6th place ahead of Kamp van Aert, Nassen, Nathan van Hooijdonk, and Matteo DAL-CIN is still flirting with the outer reaches of the top 10 at the moment, just hanging on grimly within 400 and a bit meters of the lead, which is held by Michael Matthews. The top of the second climb of the day beckons for the Australian star. He'll look forward to the descent.
I wonder if that gaggle of Belgians, they'll be having their own race. Then it will be knowing the Belgians, they can be highly competitive against each other, and you might find them looking at each other more than looking at, Greg van Avermaet might have forgotten his rivalry with Matthews and focusing on the Belgians immediately around him. It was interesting hearing Nico Roach actually talking about his strategy after he got that lead and just riding off of the pace of the riders chasing. Sorry. So I want, like, now with Matthews, just keeping an eye on Ethan's pace, and you can match Ethan's watts per kilos quite easily, and just keep an eye on the gap. The gap is relative to the slopes they're on. So once Matthews passes the top of this climb, that gap will open up, and then as soon as they sort of plateau again, the gap will come down again. It's you know, the gap is relative to gradient.
Campenaerts is currently in 7th position, 451 metres behind. Michael Matthews, well, his watts per kilo just ever so slightly less than Ethan Hayter, and it's reflected, or at least was momentarily reflected. And the gap that between the two was down to just a little bit over 100 metres before Michael Matthews began to plunge over the top of the climb and into the descent. His virtual speed ramping up to around 45, 46, over 50 kilometers per hour. When they reach 72, that's the maximum. So if he finds that he's got little watts to spare to at that point, he can take a little bit of a break. Even Garcia, I can tell you, the man from Team Bahrain McLaren, has hit a bit of a snag. There's a storm raging in Andorra, and he's struggling for internet, so he had a bit of a wipe-by dropout. He's trying to chase back on.
Oh, Victor suffering, really suffering. Victor is one of the riders in the pro peloton I admire the most, because he just gives it everything, and he doesn't ever hold anything back either. And that's quite evident here. He shares a lot as well via his YouTube channel. I chat with him fairly regularly, and I can tell you I'm not envious one bit of sat here in my makeshift commentary box versus Victor. Looks like he's in a whole world of hurt in his loft, I guess.
He's a real character, isn't he? But this, I don't think, is a great time for an interview with Victor Campenaerts. I beggars belief, really, how any of these guys are able to talk. And Stefan Kung still hanging on in 4th position at the moment, having given momentary asides to the Swiss broadcasters in a little while. And Victor Campenaerts, well, he's a man who is enjoying this effort. At least he was enjoying his effort before he got to this point in it. I grabbed an opportunity to have a word with him just ahead of the broadcast today, and this is what he has to say.
I'm in Belgium, and it's quite okay. In Belgium, we can still train outside. Things are quite well in hand, so it's quite okay. If I compare to a lot of my teammates, they are training inside. So mentally, maybe I have a disadvantage because I can train outside, and this race is inside.
So tell us, how have you embraced online riding? How much experience have you got of it, and how much are you looking forward to racing in the Digital Swiss 5?
I do a lot of online riding towards the year, almost daily, like short sober sessions. But now, compared to the rest of the peloton, at this time I'm doing a little online riding, but I'm really looking forward to the race. It's exciting because it's been for me since Paris-Nice that I did a competition, so I'm really excited to do a competition again.
Have you had a look at the course today, and have you examined the particular nature of the race? Because it's very unusual, isn't it? We've got a hill early on and then quite a lot of descending.
Yeah, indeed. I also have a special gear. I ride with a 58 chainring to manage to keep the pressure on the pedals in the long descent, that I don't spin out of gears. Just a little bit like the same. If we would race on this parcours, it would also be important that you have a small gear to survive the hills, because the hills have some sections of 10%. So you need a small gear and also a real big gear for the long stretch in the end that is super fast.
Victor Campenaerts sitting in 8th position at the moment, just 1.4 kilometers now behind the long-time indeed leader since the very earliest moments, Michael Matthews, hanging on to his advantage. And I would imagine Victor has that big dinner plate at the front fairly wound up at the moment because, well, they're all over 50 kilometers an hour, but not at that maximum speed. So they're still having to make the effort. They don't have quite the advantage of the gradient that allows them to reach that maximum speed, albeit, just as I say it, Nathan van Hooijdonk is just a little bit further back the hill, and he just hits the maximum briefly. So he's in chase mode, trying to get on terms with Victor Kampenaerts. Tosh van der Sande slipped, or moved up indeed, to 10th position. So he's moving up the order. Another man moving up the order, Greg van Avermaet, has moved up and into 5th position, just behind Michael Gogel by about a couple of hundred meters. And he's finding himself ahead of Sylvain Dillier now by around about 50, 80 meters. So interesting scraps developing through the field. Let's watch out to see how Greg van Avermaet, whether he can negative split this one and save something for the back end.
It's also Stefan Kung I'm on the lookout for as well. He's at the moment hunting down Ethan. But this is, after stage 2 where he really put on a strong display and put a considerable gap into Matthews. He's not got long now. He's got some work to do, but he'll be on the hunt now for Michael. It's interesting listening to Victor talking about putting a 58 ring on, and there's a twofold benefit for that, I think. We've spoken about this a couple of times over the course of the digital Swiss racing, but drivetrain efficiency is pretty, or can be quite crucial depending on where you're taking the power reading from. So most of the riders here will have 2 power meters, one attached to their bike that they use on day-to-day training, but also most smart trainers now come with a very accurate power meter. Now, normally there'll be a loss in power from pushing down on the pedals by the time it gets to the turbo trainer, and so it would make more sense for the riders to use their crank-based power meter, as it's as close to the output as possible. But if they are using the turbo trainer's power meter, then things like a 58 chainring, a wax chain, ceramic bearings, they will all help maximize and optimize the power that the riders are putting through the pedals, that's then being transferred through to the trainer, and then that is obviously then turned into a number that's sent up into the clouds and displayed in the platform in ROWE that we're seeing now, and ultimately determining how quick they're going.
And at a decent rate at the moment, aren't they? Michael Matthews now with 430 meters, still plunging down the hill. Things will settle down a little bit when they reach the sort of plateau area down towards the bottom. 6% is the negative gradient, i.e. the steepness of the descent, and oncoming traffic that exercised so many of you on social media yesterday is not really the concern that it might be. We pick up the images from inside the pain caves all over the world, 22 different countries. Riders are racing in and racing collectively. Oliver Nassen, that's an impressive figure on a bike, doesn't he? The Belgian rider, string of top results in the monuments, still to crack the big one, but it's coming, isn't it, for a rider of his ability? AG Tour Le Mondial, Bodak there, heavy hitter. Meanwhile, Lucas Posselberger, well, there's nothing you can do about it now. You're in this one, Lucas, and have to keep pushing all the way to the end. 28-year-old Austrian certainly will push. That's exceptional stage victory in 2017 on stage 1 of the Giro d'Italia. And he was on lead-out duties and somehow flew to victory, surprising everyone, not least himself, I think, at the time, but displayed his quality. And here's a quality rider, still the reigning Olympic champion, and he's set to be to extend that reign into a 5th year next year as Greg van Avermaet continues to wind it up for the CCC squad. 34-year-old Belgian. Meanwhile, Michael Matthews at the front and looking good at the moment. He's still hanging on to that advantage, pushing around about 6 watts per kilo. He's a compact bike rider, powerful indeed as he is. Certainly not the tallest rider out there. Neither too is Michael Albasini, a grizzled veteran of the classics. And indeed some wonderful stage race performances over the years. Maybe this competition not to his precise liking. Versus Atlantic Stebar, well, he's learning. The former cyclocross world champion, Loop Het Nussblad victor in 2019. Magnus Kort has Well, he's got the support, all the branding and the stopwatches. I'm not sure what the stopwatch is for, what it's going to tell them. Andre Greipel, well, the real hero of this bike race, I think, is Andre Greipel's bike that is still attached to that home trainer. Because he is not showing any respect for his equipment there, is he? He's going to get it all into that trainer come hell or high water.
I think we're in for quite the finale here, Declan. Stefan Kung's on a charge. He's paced this ride, and he's disposed of Ethan, and now he's on the hunt for Michael. And I did wonder when we saw the studio shots of him before. I wondered if that studio looks, with the lighting, possibly quite a bit warmer than his garage that he was in before when he won stage 2. But he's got a fan there, so it looks like a hefty fan. It looks like a solid fan that's really sort of moving the air around him well. So, but he's definitely eating into that advantage Matthews have, and it's going to be quite the finale, I think.
Could have a bit of a nail biter here. There's quite a way to go for the riders on this penultimate race. 36.8 kilometers in total, so we're inside the final 10k for Michael Matthews. He's hit something close to the flat road, but still plunges downhill more or less all the way to the line, albeit not at quite the same precipitous gradients that they've had over the top of the 2 climbs of the day. So Michael Matthews continues to lead. He's led through every split so far in the race, but is this a diminishing advantage? Still showing it just over 250 meters lead over Stefan Kung of the Swiss national team. Ethan Hayter slips to 3rd for Team Ineos, but a fine performance from the young Brit. Michael Gugel of Austria sitting in 4th place for NTT Pro Cycling is just over 200 meters behind Ethan Hayter. Greg van Avermaet in 5th is trying to hunt down the Austrian rider, and I think still has a definite chance of getting on terms for 4th. Will he get up to Hayter between now and the end? Another man who knows how to measure his effort. Dillier sitting in 6th for the AG Tuola Mondial squad. Tobias Foss, who's another young man making a name for himself, the victor, of course, of the Tour de l'Avenir. It's the race that everybody watches to see who's able to perform something of an emerging Espoir's Tour de France. And Tobias Foss of Denmark took that victory last year. He's sitting in 7th place for Team Jumbo-Visma, and Van Hooydonk, Ludvigsen, Bassett, that's the outside of the top 10. Tom Squinch is coming with a bit of a run, sitting at 11th at the moment. Tosh van der Sande in 12th.
This is going to be a really fascinating battle. Stefan's now within 200 meters of Matthews. That's, I think, the last checkpoint is just 17 seconds. Matthews still that same rocking style. Stefan he really looked like he was in control earlier. Now he looks like he's putting the hammer down. And for those looking at the screen, think like maybe a bit confused because Michael's watts per kilo is higher than Stefan's. Now we're on a flat road here, and actually a predominantly downhill road. Watts per kilo is important on a climb, and on the downhill and on the flat, it's more just about the watts. And so Stefan is, I hope you won't mind me saying, quite a bit heavier than Michael. So Stefan's watts per, like 5 watts per kilo might be 40 or 50 watts higher than Michael's 5 watts per kilo. And in this stage of the race, it's more about the watts, it's less about the watts per kilo. So whilst Michael's watts per kilo might still be a touch higher than Stefan's just raw power output will be higher than Michael's for certainly some of it. But it looks like Michael's trying to react. Stefan can see him up on the virtual road ahead, which is going to be a real carrot, and that's a look of determination there.
It's turning into a nail biter. This is getting very close indeed. 166, 167 meters between them. He's holding it steady at the moment. Looks like Michael Matthews has responded. Over 6 watts per kilo between the two riders. And Matthews, well, what has he learned and what has he gleaned from the performance of Nicholas Roach on day 1 and indeed in yesterday's day 3 of the Digital Swiss 5. Roach measuring his effort against the rivals, but there you have it. Stefan Kung has arrived at the part of the course where he can really express himself, sweeping past the commuter on the way to the shops, avoiding the trucks coming against him, and Kung is powering momentarily just up over 7 watts per kilo, and as Alex has told us, he's got a lot of watts. It's not just about the watts per kilo, he's just got all of those watts for the flat road. Michael Matthews, if this was to come down to a battle for the line, he has the ability to go somewhere exceptional in terms of watts in the final 500 meters. Can Kung get to a similar place? This could come down to the very last moment. It's down to 140 meters between them.
In Matthews, you'd put your money on Matthews in a sprint, but this is a very different sprint. These guys are coming in to a sprint off the back of a 1 hour. Well, maybe we're looking at slightly just under 1 hour threshold effort, which is quite unfamiliar for a lot of cyclists. It's rare that we'll have to do an hour flat out. You know, we go real hard. Time trials are normally anything from 5 minutes up to 50 minutes. It's only really World Championships and the odd mad Grand Tour stage that we tip over an hour in a TT, and climbs are quite rarely an hour in length. So we're this is uncharted territory for a lot of riders, and certainly being indoors on a trainer as well is also very much uncharted territory. But I think we're in for quite the finale here.
We certainly are, because Stefan Kung has lit the blue touch paper. There's no time for chatting in the studio now, I can tell you. This is business. He means business. He's less than 100 meters behind. He's gained 50, 60 meters within the last couple of kilometers, and he's got another, 4 kilometers to come to get to the line and to celebrate a second victory in this week of racing in the Digital Swiss 5. Stefan Kung, though, yet to get on terms with Matthews. Has Matthews saved something for the back end? Both of those riders getting in and out of the saddle with increasing frequency, because they are struggling to put that effort in. But Kung knows that he's got to get up to Matthews, and he's got to get ahead of him, and he's going to get there, and he's going to get there very quickly. It's remarkable the amount of space that he's put between himself and Ethan Hayter, because the gap is up almost 500 meters between the two. They were locked in combat not so long ago. This is a massively intense effort from Stefan Kung, and he's very shortly going to come up and onto the shoulder of Michael Matthews. What is this doing to Michael Matthews' mind right now? Because he's looking at the screen. He can see that diminishing advantage. He's put in an absolutely peerless effort to this point. Looked like he had done exactly what his teammate Nicholas Roach had done yesterday, and that seemed to be the right play. But Stefan Kung's put his earpiece back in again, so I'm not sure if he's listening to encouraging music or perhaps the shouts and screams from his sporting director. Whatever it is, it's working. He's down to within 20 meters of Michael Matthews.
Now, I wonder if Matthews is watching the footage we are. He can see how much Stefan's suffering just to get on terms. You know, this is we're seeing Stefan hurt more than we did for that stage he won. Stage 2, he had things in control right from the word go. Here, he's had to really dig in to catch Matthews, and Matthews doesn't look like he's altered his sort of persona at all. So, and look at this, Matthews is responding now up to 8.89 watts per kilo. There's some huge numbers that Matthews is putting out, and that will hurt Stefan. He's made a huge effort to get within sight of Matthews, and now Matthews is starting to pull away again. So Stefan now needs to respond, and you can see by the images he's on his limit here, and so Matthews is now pulling away. He's playing games. This is even more exciting than some time trials.
It's absolutely fabulous stuff, and Stefan Kung, that was not in the script for him. He made a gargantuan effort, but was a bit of a rope-a-dope approach from Michael Matthews. He could see Kung was really putting in a huge effort, got on terms, got to within a few meters, and now Michael Matthews has said, I'm not giving up on this one just yet. I'm not going to give up and be denied this victory. Already a podium finisher this week. He fancies the win. Here comes Kung by way of response. He steps it up again. Virtual progress across the tarmac, approaching the maximum speed of 70 kilometers an hour. Stefan Kung goes into the lead. Matthews goes and responds at over 6 watts per kilo, but it's over 10 watts per kilo from Michael Matthews, trying to get back on terms. Finds himself 9 meters back. They're over 60 kilometers an hour on this stretch, still fractionally downhill, and they're really charging towards the line. They're not going to be long before they get there within the final kilometer, and this is going to be a match race. They're under the kite, 1,000 meters left. Michael Matthews right there. Stefan Kung has the advantage, and they're going to get through this final kilometer in around about a minute at this pace, because Kung, well, one wonders whether he could possibly have anything left after that chase. He's going to have the lead, but he knows he's up against a man who's one of the top classic sprinters in the peloton, who disappeared up the road to take that third place from Craig van Avermaet a couple of days ago. When it comes to the last 500 metres, there are few as fast as Michael Matthews, but will he be close enough? Can he possibly sustain the effort for any longer? Can Stefan Kung, will he be denied his second success on home soil after taking the victory on stage 2 of day 2 indeed? Stefan Kung is starting to put some daylight between himself and Michael Matthews inside the final 200 metres. He's not going to be denied. Stefan Kung is going to take a second victory in the Digital Swiss 5. 100 metres to go. Matthews has given his all, but he's had to give best to this man. Stefan Kung gets the victory. He gets the virtual hands in the air. He's absolutely exhausted. He can't even put his arms in the air in the studio. What an exceptional performance from this young Swiss rider. Really encouraged to get his absolute maximum out. And Michael Matthews is a distraught figure. He had put everything into that one, but there was nothing he could do about the powerhouse time trial supremo that is Stefan Kung. Ethan Hayter coming through for an exceptional third place finish, the 21-year-old British rider, giving Team Ineos a second podium of the week. And Hayter up and through and across the line. Already some relief for Stefan Kung and Michael Matthews as they complete their one down, and they have given us some super entertainment here today. Craig van Avermaet, another solid performance from the Classics man. He's through in fourth. Next man to cross the line, Michael Google of NTT Pro Cycling in fifth. Sylvain Dillier is next up. Meanwhile, we gather our thoughts and catch our breath after that sensational finish, the superb effort from Stefan Kung.
I think Matthews played that perfectly. You know, he got his advantage early on. He got his advantage over Stefan when it would suit Matthews the most on the climbs, and gave Stefan the work to do. Unfortunately for Matthews, when it comes to just raw power output, there's very few on this planet that can deal with the watts that Stefan can put out, and I think Matthews gave it the most honest shot of everyone. And also hats off to Greg van Avermaet, who won the Battle of the Belgians, which for him might be the most important race of the day.
Indeed. Winning the Belgian National Championship is more important than World Championship sometimes. Michael Google is, as we say, in fifth place. Sylvain Dillier back in sixth. Tobias Voss finishes the day for Team Jumbo-Visma in seventh. Stephen Bassett in eighth. Tobias Ludvigsen in ninth, and Nathan van Hooydonk in 10th place. How quickly he recovers. He was all in, wasn't he, Stefan Kung, and now he's chatting away as if he's just on a little meander to the shops. Lucas Posselberger still has work to do. He's still out there, and Matthews, well, his pride will be dented by that one. I think he can take great solace and great comfort from the fact that he has not only given a great account of himself as an athlete, but also given us wonderful entertainment. For that we're eternally grateful. Another great performance from the Team Sunweb squad. They've had 2 podiums and a victory already from the 4 races this week, so satisfying hit out for Sunweb. The riders continuing to make their way in ones and twos. We have got 19 riders through to the line now.
Like a nice little battle between Oliver Nason and Victor Campenaerts at the end there. Just 4 seconds separating them.
Yeah, Campenaerts just edging that one for 16th position on the day, ahead of Oliver Nason and Will Clark next up. DAL-CIN in 19th, faded a little bit in the back end. Rich was up there early on, back in 20th place. Andre Greipel finishes the day in 21st place, and he can throw the bike in the bin, I think. Hopefully we'll be catching up with Stefan Kung shortly. I suspect he'll be speaking his native language, as you might expect, given that his colleagues are there beside him. These the moments. They came to the finish line. You know, he threw his arms in the air when he took the victory on day 2, but he wasn't able to do that today, was he? He was asked a big question. He was able to answer it, though.
Ja, Stefan Küng, was oder wer hat Sie jetzt am meisten angestachelt, diesen Sieg zu holen, diesen grandiosen Sieg?
Ja, das ist die Rennfahrer. Ich meine, das ist ein bisschen verrückt, gell? Ich bin hier im Studio in Zürich. Michael Matthews, der lebt in Monaco, ist auf seinem Balkon. Und wir fahren Rennen und ich glaube, man hat es uns angesehen. Also all in, also wirklich, ich habe fast Krämpfe jetzt im Schlusssprint. Das ist, ja, also ich glaube, solche Schmerzen hat man wirklich nur im Finale einer großen Klassik. Und ja, wenn man sieht, dass man näher kommt und dann riecht man den Sieg, auch den virtuellen, und dann, ja, dann lässt man nicht locker.
Und es war schon ein unglaublich spannendes Duell. Die Kommentatoren hat es mitgerissen, mich hat es mitgerissen. Ich nehme an, Sie haben es auch richtig wie im Rennen drin erlebt.
Ja, also am Anfang habe ich gedacht, boah, krass, wenn Matthews wieder losfährt. Und dann habe ich gedacht, ja gut, sehr wahrscheinlich seine Taktik am Berg den Unterschied machen. Und ich habe einfach gesagt, ich pace am Berg, oder? Also ich fahre das, was ich weiß, dass ich fahren kann, ohne wirklich in den roten Bereich zu müssen. Und darum hatte ich hinten raus mehr Reserven als er. Und ich glaube, das Programm hat auch die absoluten Watt quasi, wie soll man sagen, das hat auch mitgespielt beim Tempo. Und ich glaube, ich bin sicher etwa 10 Kilo schwerer als Michael Matthews. Und wenn ich natürlich hinten raus, sieht man ja die Watt pro Kilos. Aber die absoluten Watt waren dann sehr wahrscheinlich höher bei mir. Und darum habe ich ihn dann am Schluss noch eingeholt. Aber ja, ich musste wirklich Vollgas
Die Taktik ging auf, all in war ihre Devise. Wie fühlen sich die beiden im Moment an? Wäre noch mehr möglich gewesen?
Ja, also wenn man gewinnt, dann hat man, glaube ich, alles richtig gemacht. Darum ja, würde ich sagen, ich habe wirklich 100% ausgeschöpft heute.
Gut, vielen Dank und herzliche Gratulation zu diesem Sieg.
Dankeschön.
Yeah, my Swiss German isn't up to much. I'm pretty sure.
Ja, als nächstes kommt das Interview mit Michael Matthews. Hi, Michael.
Hello.
Hi. How are you and your legs doing?
Maybe I think I need a couple of days to cool down after that one.
We just talked to Stefan. That was a really tough race between the two of you. How did you live it?
Yeah, I learned from the race 2 days ago. You need to really go out hard if you can, and then just try and bring it home. After Stefan Küng, he tried the other day. I knew I had to try and get out early and try and hold him off, but he was just too strong again.
So it's again Stefan who wins. What does that mean to you, losing against him once more?
Everyone knows how strong Stefan Küng is. He wins all the TTs around the world, so he's one of the strongest guys over this sort of discipline. So, yeah, I just needed to try and ride my race and see if I could beat him. But in the end, he caught me, I think, with 2K to go. So I tried some attacks to try and soften him up, but he just rode his TT mode all the way to the finish.
And what was the experience itself like? Did it feel like real?
Yeah, actually today it really did. I think I've ridden these roads before, so looking on my computer screen, I'd been on these roads before, and it did really feel as close to real as you can get, I think.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Michael Matthews.
Thank you.
Well, and congratulations to both, and indeed Stefan Küng looking somewhat bemused there, isn't he? He did admit that he was surprised at Matthews' pace at the beginning, and Stefan Küng decided he would just sort of control a little bit in the first climb, so he had a little bit more at the back end. He said that his higher weight did help him, but he certainly did need to give his all to catch Matthews, and he just about managed to do it in time, but Michael Matthews, those softening up a little attacks, isn't it? It's just like real racing, only different.
Yes, I thought coming into that last case, Stefan needed to try and put some time into Matthews, because the thing about sprinters is it doesn't matter how tired they are, they've always got a sprint in them. And like you said before, Declan Matthews is one of the fastest in the world, so he really had to put a gap in there before the last 200 metres.
Nice confirmation of the finishing order at the conclusion of day 4, with Stefan Küng getting the victory by the narrowest of margins from Michael Matthews. Ethan Hayter getting up for a terrific third place. Greg Van Avermaet, Michael Gugel, Dillier, Fuss, Bassett, Ludvigsen and Van Hooydonk rounding out the top 10. Tomorrow's final race, race 5 from Camperio to Decenti Cedrun, is 36 kilometers in total. It's got one big climb in it and then a little ramp up over the final 6 kilometers that is going to make it a gripping conclusion indeed to this digital Swiss 5. It only remains for me, Declan Guidi, to thank Alex Dowsett in Andorra for his assistance through the afternoon. Hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you will join us again tomorrow. But for now, it's goodbye.